Welcome back to another episode of the Choppin' F.A.T podcast, brought to you by Ninja Play. What's up, everybody? I am Earl from Almighty Fitness, Inc. And on this episode of Choppin' F.A.T, we are going to be talking about something prevalent in our communities, amongst our families, amongst ourselves, and that is mental health. What is that? Mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects how we think, how we feel, and how we act. It also helps determine how we handle stress, relate to others, and make healthy choices. Mental health is something that is important at every stage of our life, from childhood, adolescence, to adulthood. So I wanted to bring a special guest on, somebody who I've known for a while. She is near and dear to me. I want you guys to meet Ivy Watts.
Hello, everybody. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, I am excited to have you here. Listen, I wanted to tell you how I met Ivy. When I first quit work and became a personal trainer, I was seeing her at Fit Factory in Braintree. Yep. And I'm training other people, and I'm looking around. I see this girl, she's working out, she's working hard. And when you train people and you see people in the gym, you can tell who knows what they're doing or who's really going hard. Mm-hmm. And I used to see you like, man, this girl is really getting it. Like dumbbell step-ups, squats, everything. She's got the look. And I remember going up to you one day like, what is your name? Like, I see you all the time. And I think from that moment on, we just, stayed connected. And it was then that I eventually got my first location, and I ended up leaving Fit Factory. So, but this girl is a beast, so I'm glad to have you on. But I want you to share who you are, because not a lot of people know who you are. I do. I didn't realize how much of a beast she is. But now I just want her to introduce herself and what you do in your business.
Yeah, no, that's so funny thinking back to how we first got connected and how far we've come. But yeah, so I'm a mental health speaker. So I travel the country sharing my story about my struggle with my mental health. So I was a track athlete my entire life and really struggled a lot with anxiety and negative self-talk and low self-worth, but was too afraid to talk about it because of the stigma around mental health, especially heightened in the Black community, heightened in the athletic world. And so I really struggled, and that kept me from reaching a lot of my athletic goals that I had for myself. Okay. But people thought that I was this perfect person on the outside, because that's what I really wanted the world to see me as, but was really struggling internally. Okay. And so after college was able to get help for myself through therapy and self-care, and just really wanted to start sharing my message with the world, and specifically with athletes too, just really to break the stigma and empower them to take care of themselves.
And what's the name of your company?
Ivy Watts Speaks.
Ivy Watts Speaks. Now listen, she's watering this down a little bit, because I had to take some notes. Let me take some notes. She said this. She is a former track and field student athlete, graduated summa cum laude. Is that how you say that?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, my college didn't have those type of things. Undergrad in psychology from University of New Haven, master's in public health from BU, and certified mental health first aid. Top 30 finalists for NAACP, NCAA Women of the Year Award. It says you empowered over 8,000 students and over 3,000 administrators and parents to practice mental health and wellness for themselves and others. She left all that out. But that's major. Wow, all of that's been going on since, I last seen you. So I think that's super amazing that you've accomplished.
Thank you.
So much.
Thank you.
Entrepreneur life, as you know, it is not for the weak.
It is not. It's definitely a grind, for sure.
And when it comes to mental health, we have so many ups and down moments. Like when things are thriving, and then just like that, things can just switch up. And it's like, how are we going to get through it? How are we going to push through? Because they say most businesses fail because people quit the first 2 or 3 years. And then we don't even talk about the mental health side of it. You know what I mean? Having to provide for your family, how that affects you. So, I know I dealt with that as well. When was your first experience with mental health and realizing that you had an issue going on?
Yeah, I think when I was probably in middle school, I started to really feel like I was just constantly not good enough. And I was struggling with anxiety, but I didn't have the words for it. I didn't know, especially because it was never talked about. I just didn't have the words for anxiety or... And I think that's like when I really first started realizing that something was wrong. I struggled with a lot of like physical health issues. And I think a lot of people don't realize like the connection between mental health and physical health.
Absolutely.
Not even just from like, moving your body helps you with your mental health, but also like sometimes struggles show up physically. So I had a lot of like headaches and stomach aches, like a trembling issue, and like always in the doctor's office, always trying to figure out what was going on. And come to find out, like later on, like really making the connections, like that was my body's way of telling me, like I had this like really intense anxiety that I just didn't know how to work through. So that was like early on when I was like,
anxiety is like, I guess it never really had a name growing up, and now people are using it, a lot, and we worry a lot. But I think the name of having it now makes people recognize what they deal with. I saw a thing when you were speaking, and you talked about your track star time and how one time there was this girl who ran a certain speed, and you was like, I gotta beat her. Yeah. And then you worked all hard for months, and then when it came up there, when you was about to go, everything started getting in your head. Can you tell them about that experience?
Yeah, so my coaches put a ton of pressure on me to run the specific goals. 54 seconds in the 400. There was a girl who had just graduated. She was a 4-time All-American. And so my coach was like, you need to be her. And you need to run the same time that she did. And so like we were just obsessed with this number, 54. And yeah, I was doing everything right. I was going to practice on time. I was lifting heavy. I was doing everything that like I needed to do in order to like meet this goal. But then when I got to the track and got into the blocks, like this just intense, overwhelming anxiety just kind of took over, and I think I just lost like trust in myself and my abilities, and like that negative self-talk. Like I remember talking so negatively to myself. It's a 60-second or less race if you're good at it, right? no shade to anybody who didn't, but that's a short amount of time, and I was talking so negatively to myself that entire time, and that really did. It was like, it's the difference of what you say to yourself, right? So like me talking so negatively to myself, that impact on my body just started shutting down, and I wasn't able to run as well as I could have.
Well, I'm an athlete as well. I played basketball all the way from middle school all the way up through college, and I was a student athlete as well. But it's like I feel like it's different sometimes with track and basketball players. Like we don't have that same type of pressure, Yes, we want to win games. Yes, we're trying to compete to earn minutes and stuff like that. But you have a specific time you got to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's just different. So I often think, have I ever really struggled with mental health like that? And I can't say that I know if I have, but I know through this entrepreneur life, one of the things that I realize is suffering in silence. My partner always talks about toxic masculinity, suffering in silence. That's what he called it. And I realized that during times when things get low, I get really, really down. And then instead of talking about it or reaching out to other men, I kind of just take it all on, right? And I got this weight bearing on me. And I get super emotional. Sometimes I'm in the gym and I'm crying instead of just talking to people about it. Everybody, no matter what you're dealing with, there's somebody in the world that's going through the same thing or has been through it. And, we just have to let go of that pride side and just reach out and talk, So I definitely realized that I'm probably dealing with this too and just never wanted to admit it.
I think the big thing there is that like we all have mental health, right? And so like you might not have like a diagnosable mental health issue that you like are in therapy for or treatment for. But like I think it's important for everyone to remember like that if you have like stress or a struggle or you're an entrepreneur and you have so many different hats and so many things you're managing, and if you're struggling or stressed out, like you can talk about it with somebody. You don't have to struggle in silence, no matter like how small or big the issue is. And I think that's my message, because so many people are like, well, when will I know when I need to get help? I'm like, well, I don't know. Your breaking point is going to be different than my breaking point, but you shouldn't wait till you get to that breaking point to be able to like start taking care of yourself.
Absolutely. Now let me ask you this. Because, mental health, right? Do you ever really get over it, or is it just a constant battle that you just deal with?
I think it's the same thing as like with your physical health. Like if you stop going to the gym, you're gonna gain that weight back. If you keep eating those ho-hos or whatever, you're gonna gain that weight back. So it's the same thing. Like I think it's a lifelong process. Like you're gonna experience these challenges. Like you don't like hit this destination of like happiness, like unlocked it. Like, okay, I'm good. Like like things are going to happen. Unfortunately, like there's grief that you deal with, there's relationship challenges, there's financial struggles, and I think it's just about knowing your tools to work through those. Like, it's not about saying like I'm going to avoid those challenges or I'm a failure if I struggle. It's like, no, what are my tools that help me through?
So speaking of helping you through, because I know people who deal with it. One of my close friends, she's always talks about anxiety, and things will come up and just out of nowhere she just feels this overwhelming feeling of worry, and it's like nothing going on, like what's happening. Like what type of things did you do to help in these situations? Did fitness help? Therapy, things like that. What were some of the tools that you used that you can provide for some of the people?
Yeah, so therapy was a huge one. That was like the first thing I did for myself, and I started learning new tools through therapy. I still am in therapy. It's so helpful for me, even when I like feel like nothing's going on. Like, it's just good to have someone, like someone who's not going to judge me, to just like let it all out. Exercise and fitness is huge. Just being a former athlete, I feel like that's like just part of my DNA. And so even though Earl is trying to get me into the gym all the time and thinks I don't work out, I still work out at home. And so exercise is huge. I mean, again, that mind-body connection, like moving your body is such a great way to like release all of the stress and the overwhelm and anxiety. And like, if you're doing it right, I think we used to always talk about this at Fit Factory. People would just be sitting on their phones on a machine. It's like, well, you're really not doing it right in that sense of like working for your mental health too, because like if you're like constantly active, like your brain doesn't even have time to think about like all the other stuff going on in your life. So that's been really good for me, getting outside, going for walks and being in nature.
Oh, that's good.
And just, leaning into my supports and all those things are really big.
I tell people all the time, like in the gym, I use this metaphor. It's like, in the gym, this is the one time, right, you're investing in yourself. This is an hour or two of your time where you're just focused on you. So all the stuff, the weight that you've been carrying, it's like a metaphor that you're pushing this weight off of you. So I always, every time I do that, whenever I'm upset or stressed out, I work out, because I never come into the gym one way and still leave that way. I always leave differently. I always feel different. So I do believe that exercise can help. I'm not saying it's the main thing, right? But it is a big part of getting over it. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to just talk about some more advice we can give and go over how people can reach you and what we can expect from you in 2024.
Cool.
How's that?
Sounds good.
All right, we'll be right back. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back. So we're going to talk some more about just more advice to give, and then we're going to get some more info on Ivy and what she has going on. We got to show you her book as well, because she's also an author.
Shameless plug.
Yes, absolutely. So I saw this, I was looking up some things, and it said best ways to deal with mental health. And you can, elaborate on this. We just talked about this. Regular exercise, just 30 minutes of walking every day can help boost your mood. I totally agree with that. Especially just getting exposed to the sun. Like, you ever notice that when you wake up and it's dark and cloudy, you feel like this is
even this time of year,
exactly.
It's so dark.
There's no sunlight. I truly believe that if those moments when the sun comes, get outside, get some vitamin D. It said eat healthy, regular meals, and hydrate. Another good thing, you are what you eat, right? So you gotta, if you look good, Dion Sanders sells this all the time. If you look good, you feel good. If you feel good, you do good. I believe that. But also I do food does affect you and how you eat. There's a lot of minerals that we don't get when we're not eating vegetables and stuff like that. That also helps with how we feel. Hydration is key. I talk about hydration. I just did a podcast last episode talking about hydration and how important it is to the body and how you can get rid of coffee and all of these things with just proper hydration. So, it also helps with focus, sleep and things like that. Making sleep a priority.
Yes.
That was one of them.
For sure.
You know, you are not going to like who you become if you are not getting sleep. I promise you.
So true.
I promise you, it changes everything about you. So try to make sure you get at least, 6 to 8 hours of sleep every night.
Yeah.
If you're a mom, even more.
Or probably even less.
Hopefully.
The bar goes down. It's like 3 hours is good.
It's so true. It just doesn't change. How you feel about this one? Try a relaxing activity.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like any kind of break that you can take from like the go, go, go lifestyle that we as Americans live, like I think any kind of relaxation that you can take, even if it's just like watching a funny video or something, like it's good.
Yeah. Set goals and priorities. I thought that was a good one, a good way to keep yourself focused on something and to try to finish something and start something and then finish it.
Right, for sure.
Focus on positivity. Affirmations. Now, this was a good one because Ivy, if you ever go on her page, Ivy Watts, right? Yeah. She used to do these things, and even despite all she was going through, she would have these signs up, and she would write like she's smiling in the picture, but she's writing like how she feels, and even though she feels this way, she's still smiling. And I love that, you know, that type of affirmation. Like no matter what you're going through, it's okay to smile. She used to dance. She don't dance anymore. What's going on? I live for those dance moments.
Oh my goodness.
But just imagine if you're having a rough day and you just scroll up and you see somebody who's just dancing, you know? I don't know. I think those are those positive things that we could help, you know, affirmation.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm a huge advocate for the power of positivity. I end every single presentation I do with 3 positive affirmations. So I am worthy, I am capable, I am good enough.
Come on now.
And it's just like the act of saying something to yourself that's positive. And a lot of people are like, well, like this isn't gonna change my mindset overnight. It's just like anything else. Like when you're in the gym, like you have to be consistent about it to get the benefit of it. But what you say to yourself is really what you become. So it's so important. Like I'm a huge believer in it. And I think there's a balance, right? It's not about being positive all of the time, but it's about giving yourself the same like patience, love, kindness, compassion that you give to other people. So that's what the power of positivity is about.
Affirmation is one of my love languages, so I love it. So it's important. If you can do affirmation to yourself, I mean, it's even better. I saw Stay Connected was the
100%.
Was one.
Yeah, for sure.
Having a community of people. Now, I say this even with the people here who I train here. It's like, hey, make sure your group around you is able to pull you up when you're down. Like you don't want a bunch of people around you who are not going to be always negative or, you know, not positive at all, or when you're going through hard times that they can't, you know, pour something into you. First, you always want to watch who pours into you, because every pour is not a good pour.
Yes, for sure.
But you want to make sure they are putting good things into you. So can you talk about the importance of staying connected with a good group of accountability people?
Yeah, I think we're just social beings in general. And I think when you're struggling with your mental health, a lot of times you want to isolate yourself. A lot of times you get withdrawn. A lot of times you just feel like no one's going to understand, or that no one's like really there for you. And so kind of our natural thing is to like retreat or retract from people, but that connection is huge. I think leaning in on those people who do support you, who are going to help you through. And I think also one thing to remember too is that, you know, you might have a best friend that you can really go to for one particular problem, but they're not really great in supporting you with something like entrepreneurship. So then maybe you have like another friend that's really good for that. So I think that's important to know, because you know, you want to just lean into the right people, because it can be disappointing if you're like, well, I was hoping to get that, but they never give you that. So maybe go to somebody else, you know?
Absolutely. I definitely have more than one best friend.
Right.
So, and I go to them for different things.
Exactly.
I need some money advice. You know, I go to them. If I go to the other person, if I'm out of pocket or I'm doing something wrong, I need the female perspective. Things like that. So I totally agree with that. Now, here's some of the things. What are some of the symptoms that you dealt with mental health that some people might not know that, hey, this is something I dealt with? it, and this was a sign that I didn't recognize.
Yeah, definitely. So I think, as I mentioned, like those physical health issues that showed up for me, really anxious, overwhelming feelings, sometimes like really difficult to get through the day. But I was someone, like they consider people like myself who kind of had like all the achievements as like a high functioning anxiety or high functioning depression, in the sense that you're able to get through your day, but your thoughts are still really consumed by a lot of these like negative thoughts. So I think if you're like really obsessing around like negative things, or even it's like hard to get through your day, that's definitely a telltale sign. And then I think also just like perfectionism is a warning sign of mental health problems. Like that was one of my biggest things is, when you have this idea that you want to be perfect, you're always falling short, because my idea of perfect is different than your idea of perfect, and society's idea of perfect is different. And so like you're always not reaching this like unrealistic ideal. And so it does make you feel bad about yourself, which can eventually lead to anxiety, depression, low self-worth, low confidence. And so that was one of my biggest things. I think people don't realize that. They're like, oh, you're perfect, you cannot be struggling. But a lot of times people who are trying to be perfect are often the ones who are struggling the most. So that was like one of my biggest warning signs.
Got you.
Yeah.
And to piggyback off that, I saw some other ones. It was like excessive mood swings of high and lows. Like detachment from reality was one. I don't know if that's low functioning, right? Significant tiredness, low energy, problem sleeping.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah. Now there's a whole bunch. I'm not going to go through all of this, but this is just some of them. That obviously you can Google and see some of the symptoms. But if you are somebody who tends to be dealing with this, definitely always try to find a mental health expert. For any people dealing with suicidal thoughts, I think that is one of them on there.
Yes.
Suicidal hotline always, and reach out to people if you are feeling that way. But Ivy, I thank you for coming on. Listen, we was joking before this, and I told her I almost don't feel worthy.
And I said, you are worthy, because all of you listening to this are also worthy. We're all worthy, as we are.
But I really appreciate you coming on.
Of course.
And I want, first of all, I want you to talk about your book.
Yeah.
Show the book.
Yes.
Talk about how people can reach you.
Perfect. So this book is called You Are Worth Fighting For. I released this book October of last year. So it's been out for a little bit over a year now. I lost my mom in 2021, and she left me with a wealth of life lessons. And so I really wanted to write a book that not only honored her and her life and keeps her legacy alive, but also really talks about the work I do with mental health. Awesome. And so each of her life lessons is one of the chapter titles, and I take her life lesson and put my own mental health spin on it to help everyone find their own sense of mental wellness and self-love and self-care, validation, confidence, all those things. So yeah, you can get a copy on my website or on Amazon, whichever one feels. If you go to my website, I'll sign it for you. That's why I brought my pen today. Sign it for you. Yeah, that's my book.
And what is your website?
IvyWattSpeaks.com.
And on social media, how can they find you?
Ivy Watts Speaks on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Ivy Watts. Yeah.
Awesome.
And yeah, I used to have dancing videos, and I've been thinking about that.
Bring it back.
I gotta bring it back.
You gotta bring it back.
I'll tag you in the one I do next.
But again, I appreciate you coming on. This is super new for me.
You're doing great.
I was fearful of it, and I went to this event recently. It was the entrepreneur event, and somebody said, her name was Stormy Banks. She said, "Do you know what fear is?" She said, "Fear is false expectations appearing real." And I thought that was absolutely amazing. And when I heard that, I said, you know what? I'm going to do this podcast. I'm going to stop putting it off. I was worried about not having the mics in front of you and having all these backdrops. And I'm just like, why are you overthinking it? Just do it. Be you. Look, you got a nice table.
Yeah, be you. I love the background is you. I love it.
I love it. So don't... Fear, take it out, take a leap of faith. You're gonna be fine. Whatever thing that you want to do, just believe in yourself, and it's going to be successful. Yes, so I thank you for coming through again.
Yeah, thank you.
Now I need to get her in some workout videos,
I'm gonna do some pull-ups before I leave, maybe put that in the podcast and pull my back muscles.
Well, we're gonna do that. But so check her out. Again, we'll be back next week for another episode. Who knows what we'll be talking about? But I really I'm really excited about this one because I know that this is going to be major, not only for the gym and the people that follow me, but for people who don't know who you are. There's friends of mine, like I said, who deal with this, and I'm sharing this all to them right away.
Yeah.
And I hope they all buy your book. Buy her book. Buy 30 of them. Send
you
them
are
out.
worth fighting
Christmas
for.
is almost here.
Yeah, it's a great Christmas gift. Buy one for you and 10 for your kids.
Here. It's almost here. So you might as well. Good stocking stuffers,
yes,
right?
Exactly.
All right. So thank you. I appreciate you guys for coming to watch another episode of Choppin' and F.A.T. I'll see you next week.